Boker Tov, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of the Kabbalah Café. Erev Shabbat Kodesh, Parashat Teitzei. Tomorrow we're going to be reading the special parsha, and which we've been reading the entire week. I want to thank Raya and Mordechai for broadcasting this shiur live to you. And of course, if anybody wants to sponsor the Kabbalah Café, it's not too late. And even afterwards, you can let me know, and it will be in honor of a special person in your life, or in memory of a special person that you want to honor. In today's Chumash, this portion of Teitzei from Shishi till Shvi, which is that we read today for the Chitat of today, we read a special mitzvah of marriage, and the Torah tells us, Ki yikach ish isha chadasha. When a man will take a new woman. In other words, the Talmud teaches us that from here we learn the mitzvah of getting married. Every single thing in the world, every single action that we do is holy, especially when it comes to such a great zechut, such a great mitzvah of being married. And also how we do it, how we marry someone is also very exact in the Torah, as the Talmud, right in the beginning of the tractate Kiddushin, the Talmud teaches us how we know that we're supposed to, how do we marry a woman under the Khupa? And that is that one of the ways is that we give the woman either money or something which has the value of money, which that's what we do today. We give a ring, which is valued at least Shava Pruta, which is a minimum of something which is worth something. Obviously, a ring is much nicer, and it costs a lot more than just something simple. But it's important to know the basics. The basic is that you can acquire, you can connect, giving her either money or something that is worth money. How do we know that? The Talmud tells us in the first page of Kiddushin, we just said in the beginning of the shiur the words ki yikach. Yikach means to take, which also means to acquire. How do we know that acquire means with money? So we learn, the Talmud tells us we have a similar terminology of yikach, of acquiring something with money. Like we learned by Avraham Avinu, after Sarah Imenu, our matriarch Sarah, passed away, and Avraham was searching for a burial place for her. He found in Hebron, not far from here, the building called the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, which belonged to Ephron, who at that time was the ruler or the mayor of Hebron. And Avraham said, I want that place. That's the place where Adam and Chava were buried, and this would be a very appropriate place for me to bury Sarah. And so Ephron said to him, how much are you going to pay? It costs money, and it costs a lot of money. So Avraham said, how much do you want? So Ephron said, 400 shekel kesef, 400 silver coins, which apparently in today's currency is an astronomical amount of money. Whether it's $400,000 or $4 million, apparently it's a lot of money. Avraham Avinu said, no problem. Natati kesef hasadeh kach mimeni. I've given you the money for this field, for this burial plot, and take it, kach mimeni. In other words, we see from here that the terminology of kach, just like in this week's parsha, of marrying a woman, ki yikach isha chadasha, when a man will quote unquote acquire a new woman and marry her. Now we know that the same terminology of kach, kicha, refers to refers to purchasing and acquiring. So the Rebbe asks a fascinating question. Look at this. Look how the Talmud teaches us that a husband can acquire a wife, a man can marry a woman. Where do we learn it from? From the story that Avraham buried his wife. That doesn't seem terribly appropriate. That doesn't seem very romantic. True, you might tell me, that we're only learning the word kach. Who cares what the story is about? Over here we're talking about marriage, and over there we're talking about Avraham burying his wife. We want to learn the word kach. How do we know that kach means acquiring? But the Rebbe says that every single thing in the world is exact, we learn from the Baal Shem Tov, by divine providence. How much more so when it comes to Torah? If the Talmud chooses the subject of burial of Sarah to teach us marriage from a woman, from a man and a woman, there must be a connection. It cannot just be by chance. So we're back to square one. How could we learn marriage from burial? It doesn't seem very appropriate to compare the two and to learn one from the other. The answer is even more fascinating than the question. That the Torah wants to learn from this purchase between Avraham and Ephron how a husband should search for a woman to marry, and how a woman should search for a husband, and what their feelings should be for each other standing under the Khupa. Let's go to the story of Avraham and Ephron for a moment. Avraham says to Ephron, wow, I want that piece of property. How much do you want? And he gave an astronomical amount of money. Ephron said, sure, you can have it. Just give me the money. I would like to understand Avraham for a second. True that this building was very monumental. But why in the world would he give such a large amount of money? 400 shekel kesef silver coins. For heaven's sakes. It's only a burial place. He could have probably built a little shack or a little hut or a nice little building right outside the Marat HaMachpelah. I'm sure it would have cost him much, much less. Why in the world did Avraham Avinu agree to pay so much money? And the same question I have on Ephron. Why in the world did Ephron agree to sell this piece of property? Adam HaRishon was buried there. Chava was buried there. This is probably worth more than any amount of money in the world. Why in the world would they want to do this purchase? What's the explanation? Obviously, the explanation is that the way Avraham viewed this building was that it's worth more than money. How much do you want? Give me a price, name me an amount, and I'll give it to you. You got it. Sarah is such a special person that Avraham was willing to give anything in the world that she should be buried in the greatest place in the world next to Adam and Chava. How much do you want? 400 shekel kesef? Silver coins? No problem. You got it. Some commentaries even say that he gave much more than that, even though Ephron only asked for 400,000. Because now we understand, because for Avraham it was so precious that there was no price tag on it. He was willing to give everything for it. He wanted Ephron to do it wholeheartedly, even though Ephron himself quoted a specific number. Avraham was willing to pay much more. Now let's look at Ephron. For Ephron. For Ephron, all he wants is money. Do you think for him it was important to have the Marat Machpelah on his property? He knew that Avraham would desire it. He knew that it was worth something good. So he said, you know what? Give me 400,000, give me 400 shekel kesef, and I'll give it to you. It's yours. For him, money is worth everything. The building was worth much, much less than the money. So if we are to summarize the dialogue, the unspoken dialogue between Avraham and Ephron, it was as follows. Each one said, I know I'm getting the most precious object, the most precious item in the world. So it's worth it for me. I'm willing to do anything for it. Ephron said, I'm willing to give away the Marat Machpelah, the cave of the patriarchs. And Avraham said, I'm willing to give away all the money in the world for this. Because I know that I'm receiving in return the most precious thing in the world. This, the Rebbe says, is how a Chatan is supposed to look at the Kala, and the Kala is supposed to view the Chatan. Before, as they're looking for the potential life's mate, and also while they're standing under the Khupa, and also every day of their life. Each one is supposed to say, like we say in today's Chumash, Ki yikach ish isha chadasha. When a man will, quote unquote, take a new woman. What does it mean to take? To acquire. This is what it means. To act like Avraham and to act like Ephron. That the Chatan should say, that the man should say, wow, I am so touched, I am so inspired that I can have a bride like you. You are worth everything in the world and anything in the world for me to marry you. It is the best, this is the best deal, this is the best transaction, so to speak. This is the best agreement that I've made in the world. I have now I've now found my better half, the other half of my neshama, and you are worth more than anything in the world. I am making now the best deal that I've ever made and I ever will make. And the same thing, the kala for the chatan. Wow, what an amazing chatan I have. What unique qualities. How special you are. Standing under the Khupa. This is what we learn from the unspoken dialogue between Avraham and Ephron. Just like by Avraham and Ephron, each one was 100% sure, convinced that they are making the best deal in the world. That's how the Chatan should view the Kala, and the Kala should view the Chatan. What a beautiful message that we have from this pasuk, from this verse, the first verse of today's Chumash, Ki yikach ish isha chadasha. And by divine providence, we are right now in the month of Elul. And we say, Elul is the abbreviation of Ani l'dodi, v'dodi li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Why do we refer to Hashem as Dodi, my beloved? There are so many different ways in Hebrew and other languages that we can refer to Hashem as being connected to us. Even husband and wife. Hashem is the husband. We are Am Yisrael is the wife. Sometimes Hashem is called Yedid Hashem. Hashem is our quote-unquote friend. usually by Talmidei Chachamim, by Torah scholars, and many other ways that we can refer to Hashem. Why do we say Ani Dodi v'Dodili? Why do we choose Dodi, my beloved? And this is the answer. This is the greatest relationship, the greatest compliment that we can give to Hashem. That Hashem is our beloved. That we feel that it is the greatest relationship that we have with Hashem. Like we're going to speak about next week in the Parsha. Et Hashem ha'amarta hayom, v'Hashem ha'amircha hayom. We say to Hashem, we have chosen you, and you have chosen us. There's no one else in the world besides for us. That's a very, very special bond, a very special connection, Dodi. And as we prepare in this month of Elul for the Chagim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and ultimately Simchat Torah, we turn to Hashem and we say, the best preparation for us to be standing together with you in the Chagim is that we should remember throughout these weeks of the month of Elul, that Ani Dodi, I am to my beloved, v'Dodili, and my beloved is to me. That is the greatest way of showing our affection and commitment to Hashem. That each and every one, we say to Hashem, there is no other God in the world. You are the only Hashem. We turn to you. We are connected to you. Only to you forever. And yes, Hashem says the same thing to us. You are my nation, Am Yisrael. I will never exchange you for anyone else. We are bonded forever. And therefore, I want to give all of you and to the entire world a Shana Tova, a great new year. This is an important point leading up to what I'm going to say in a moment. We talk about in the beginning of the Parsha, towards the beginning, that we should make for ourselves, and when you have a new home, you should build a ma'akeh. What's a ma'akeh? A fence around the top of the home in case someone is walking on the roof. Ki yipol hanofel mimenu, that a person may fall, God forbid. So we have to be very careful that no one, Chalila, should lose their life from falling down off a tree, off a home. No one should fall off a home. So the Rebbe teaches us that this is also connected to the subject of marriage. When someone builds a home, a spiritual home is getting married. When you get married, you build a home. It's a place for Torah, not only for going to the shul or to the Beit Chabad and having a shir, which is wonderful, or davening in the morning. Rather, much more than that. You make your home, which is a place that you sort of do regular stuff and worldly matters. You eat, you sleep, you do your work, homework, whatever it is. That's the place where you make an eternal edifice for Hashem. So what is the Torah teaching us? We are afraid that maybe someone may fall, quote unquote. What does it mean? How can someone fall? Why would someone fall? A person may, chas v'shalom, bring into their home things that are the opposite of Kedusha, the opposite of holiness. That can be anywhere, but the home is a sanctuary, is a mikdash. The home is like a temple, like a Beit HaMikdash. And just like in the Beit HaMikdash, it would never occur to anyone to bring in there something which can be, God forbid, negative. How much more so? So too, for our little Beit HaMikdash and our little homes. we have to make sure to bring only Torah books, only Farbrengens, Torah classes, education, Torah education for the children, kosher food. All of the above make the home a kosher home. And it's like a fence all around the home, that God forbid, chas v'shalom, no one should fall being in a Jewish home. No one should fall spiritually. There should only be a ladder to climb up and to be able to reach greater heights. Because the height that a person can reach while being in a shul, in a kollel, in a beit midrash, in a yeshiva, in a Chabad house, with all its greatnesses, does not come close to the heights that a person can reach when one is at home. Because when you focus on education of the children, when you bring Kedusha into the home, then you elevate not only the holy atmosphere, but you also elevate also your mundane world. And that is a much greater elevation than just being in a holy environment. If the purpose of us coming to the world was just to be in a holy environment, then the neshama didn't have to come down to the world. It could remain in a much holier place, by Hashem's holy throne, the Kisei HaKavod. And there, the neshama enjoys a true, maximum, ultimate Kedusha and ray of Hashem's greatness, of Hashem's light. But Hashem wants us that we should be in this world for as long as possible. And every moment that we're here, we need to invest in Kedusha, raising a family, making shidduchim for people who need to have a shidduch, to make it possible to have Jewish weddings, and to be able to bring Kedusha into the world. I would like to conclude with an amazing story that happened. I'm very humbled to have been part of this. But when I was a shliach approximately 15 years ago in upstate New York, in Rockland County, I'll never forget this. It was Erev Yom Kippur. And an elderly couple called me up a few hours before Yom Kippur, and they said, "Rabbi, we were married about 40 years ago, but we did not have a Khupa. We did not have a Jewish marriage. And we would like you to marry us." Obviously, I was very, very touched, and I told it to her. I said, "Wow, I'm very touched that you to hear this phone call, and Bezrat Hashem, I look forward to being able to doing this. And this is a great resolution before Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year." Technically speaking, it took several months, and we did it on Lag BaOmer, in their backyard. We had a minyan, and we made a special Khupa. And I'll never forget what I told them under the Khupa. I told them that you, in plural, are such a special couple because you have come to the realization of the sanctity, the Kedusha of marriage, of what it means to be married, Kedat Moshe Yisrael. Marriage, according to Torah, is not just something technical or something legal, that you have to go to the county clerk and to fill out a couple of forms and to make your vow dedication. Rather, it's something which is holy. It needs to be based upon the Yesodei HaTorah VaMitzvah, like the Rebbe's letter that is read under the Khupa. The foundation of Torah and Mitzvot. Mekadesh Amo v'Yisrael al Yidei Khupa v'Kiddushin is the bracha that is recited under the Khupa. Hashem sanctifies us with the Kedusha of Am Yisrael through having the Khupa and the process and the bracha of Kiddushin and the ring which is given, as we said earlier, Ki yikach ish isha chadasha. And so therefore, this is something that we can take for ourselves, this message, to encourage as many shidduchim as possible, as many matches as possible. You don't have to be an official shadchan or a shadchanit, a matchmaker, in order to bring about the shidduch between a boy and a girl. But anyone that has an idea that it's able to bring more happiness, more simcha, and more kedusha, and more marriages to the world, please step up to the plate. Don't be shy. Pick up the phone. Walk over to your friend on Shabbos and offer them an idea of a shidduch. Don't be afraid, because this is the greatest shlichut in the world. Thank you very much for joining us for this special edition of Kabbalah Café. Of course, next week, B'ezrat Hashem too, and every single morning. Shabbos tonight, we have davening at Chabad at 10 to 7, so please join us. Tomorrow morning, we have a shir at 9 o'clock, 9:30 is davening, and then we have a kiddush in honor of our dear friend Chanoch Rubel, in honor of his birthday, his Jewish birthday coming up this Monday. And of course, the Chagim will be right around Chabad in an open area. We look forward to seeing you. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and Simchat Torah. We're going to try to make it as pleasant as possible, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And Acharon Chaviv, the most important announcement for now, is that in 10 days, actually, I was just joking, in 9 days, we're going to have our big concert of bringing Jerusalem to the world. We're in the middle of doing major advertisement, and you can be part of it by sending the flyer. Soon we're going to be sending out also some videos, short 20-second videos, announcements of this bringing Jerusalem to the world. Please send it around the world to all of your contacts, WhatsApp groups, and social media, emails, wherever you can, so we have as many people as possible join us in this special endeavor of bringing Jerusalem to the world. Toda Rabba, Shabbat Shalom. It was wonderful being with you today. Be well.